everyone, it's Brittany. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a full face of one brand. It is a drugstore brand. It's e.l.f. They are extremely affordable. They make great stuff. They're all cruelty-free. And recently I went to the store and just bought a whole bunch of e.l.f. products. I had some already, but I say 90% of the e.l.f. makeup that I'm using in this video is like a first impression. With that said, I will be giving some of my opinions on how some of the products worked in a voiceover so that I can actually talk and explain myself properly, hopefully. So if you would like to see some of my first impressions of e.l.f. products and just an entire face of e.l.f. makeup, then just keep watching. Make sure you subscribe, check out my other videos, and let's get started. I will start out by priming my skin. I'm using the e.l.f. Blemish Control Face Primer. This actually has salicylic acid in it, so it does help treat any blemishes that you might have. And I haven't had an issue with this one. I've actually had this one for close to a year. These, however, are new to me. This is the e.l.f. Flawless Satin Foundation. When I first pumped it onto my hand, I thought it was going to be super thick, and it ended up being like a really natural blendable foundation, which was nice, but I ended up getting two, which was really nice because the first one that I put on seemed like it was going to be way too light, and I was definitely right about that. So I ended up doing another pump of the darker one in beige. And the really good thing about having e.l.f. foundations available is they are extremely affordable. So if you do need to get multiple colors just to find your perfect shade, it is so much more affordable. And of course, your skin color usually changes throughout the year because of sun exposure and everything, so it is always nice to have different shades. Anyways, I did decide to do a second layer of the beige shade on top, also just to see how well it built up, and it actually did build up really nicely, so I was happy about that. The other thing that was new to me is the Hydrating Camo Concealer from e.l.f. I have already tried the regular one quite a few times. I really liked it, but it was quite dry for me because I do have pretty dry skin. So this was actually really nice. It has like a satin finish. It's not super matte, but it also isn't dewy, so it does actually stay in place, and I didn't really have any issues with this. I thought that it blended out really smoothly. I was very impressed, especially for the price point of this concealer. When I was buying a bunch of new e.l.f. products, I saw the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder, and this does come in a few different shades. I got the shade Light, so it is pretty much a translucent setting powder. I didn't notice a lot of glow. It was just a really good, simple setting powder. And the eyeshadow palette I'm using is something that I've also had for about a year now. This is the new Classics eyeshadow palette. I really enjoy using this one. I do find some of the shades you have to work at blending out a little bit longer, but of course it's not really that big of a deal. I've had more expensive eyeshadow palettes that also kind of struggle to blend out as well, and even some that are worse. So this was actually a nice one that I do find myself using quite a bit anyways. For the colors, I was sticking with pink shades and kind of brown tan shades. For my eyes, this is what I've been doing a lot lately. I am drawn more towards the peachy pink tones in makeup, especially going into spring. That's just kind of what I'm typically drawn to, so I decided to do that, and I'm again just working on blending it out. I wanted my lid to be kind of the darkest part of the eyeshadow and kind of blend out into more of a pinky tone, so that's basically just what I'm doing, blending it out how I normally would, and just making sure everything is like soft and fluffy, and it actually ended up looking really great, so I was very happy about that. I do end up taking the shade Truffle and putting it along my bottom lash line just to add a little bit more shadow, because sometimes I leave it bare. I just wanted to balance it out a little bit more and just kind of have like a nice warm brown underneath and not be too dark or anything like that. And then I'm taking the shade Blanc. This is actually a shimmery white shade, and it's not extremely shimmery. It's very simple for like daily wear. Of course, I do it on my brow bone and the inner corner of my eyes. Lastly, for eyeshadow, I'm taking the rose gold shade and applying that right to the inner part of my lid, and it is or actually not inner part, the center of my lid, and kind of just blending it out lightly with my fingers. I really love this shade. It has a lot of pigmentation. It's very creamy and easy to blend out, easy to use with your fingers. And then for eyeliner, with quotation marks, air quotes around it, I usually like to use powder for this. This isn't any surprise, so I'm just using the dark matte brown in the eyeshadow palette as a little winged liner, and I do start that on like the halfway mark of my lids and then just kind of wing it out into like a smoky, soft wing. Very typical of me. So the one thing that I was kind of disappointed in is the eyebrow pencil. I've actually had this for a while and I don't really use it, specifically because I like very skinny eyebrow pencils, or at least ones that could be sharpened, and this is neither of those. I guess you could probably sharpen it, but you'd have to find one that would work for it. The thing that I do really like about it though is the color. The shade neutral brown is literally perfect for my brows. I cannot complain about that. The texture's pretty good too. I think it might be a little too creamy. Other than that, those were my complaints. I also used the clear brow and lash gel to set my brows in place. This isn't a new product to me. I've had this one and used one like this for a long time. I do like the Essence one a little bit better, but this definitely does the job just fine. And if you do want to add some mascara or false lashes, obviously you can do that. I know e.l.f. has false lashes, but I didn't actually see any when I went to the store. So I'm just doing mascara. This is the volume plumping mascara. I actually had to apply quite a bit of this to get a not very dramatic look. And I also got some on my nose, but it's fine. It happens all the time. Not the mascara's fault. This is definitely a mascara that's good for every day, but if you do want to build it up, I don't know if I would use this one. But other than that, it's really okay. If you do get mascara on your nose or anywhere else, make sure you let it dry first. Then you can kind of scrape it off with like an eyelash spoolie or a Q-tip or brush, whatever, and then just like cover it up with concealer and it looks fine. So from this little face palette, I do not know if they sell this on the e.l.f. website, but if I can find another website that sells it, I will. I'm using the bronzer, and I'm actually building this up a lot because the bronzer in this palette specifically is very, very light. So if you are as pale as me or paler, you could use it. If you're literally any darker than me at this moment, I do not suggest this as a bronzer, or maybe even a blush, I don't know, but I am going to be using the blushes from the palette. Those also do work really well for fair people, but if you have darker skin, I would go for the darker palettes that they have. They have some really great ones though. I probably could use that bronzer as like a face powder in the summer. That's how light it is. One of the products that I was really interested in is the Jelly Highlighter from e.l.f. This is in the shade Cloud. I think it comes in 3 different shades. Basically, I dotted this on the points of my face where I wanted to use a highlighter, and it was a little bit liquidier than I thought. I did not know that this dries very, very quickly. I had a little bit of trouble blending this out once it did dry. I did get it to look okay if you were wearing any more foundation or like a heavier cream product or something. Like, it would definitely be blended away completely, and just keep that in mind. If you're going to add it like I am here, blend it out immediately, and then it actually looks so good. It has a beautiful, like, silky, almost wet look to it, but obviously it's completely dry, which is good because I don't think it's gonna go anywhere throughout the day. Don't quote me on that though. I also got a new product for my eyeshadow. This is like an eyeshadow topper. It is very glittery. If you do not like glitter, this is not for you because there's actual glitter in it. It's not just shimmer, but it did look really pretty, especially with the colors that I chose for the eyeshadow. I just added some to the center of my lid, blended it out with my finger. And then for my lips, I am using a Seriously Satin lipstick from e.l.f. This was not my favorite. This is the shade Cream. I actually liked the tone of this lipstick, but it was quite patchy. So I don't know if I would use this on its own, but when I put the lip gloss on top of it, I actually really liked it. It kind of smoothed out all of the patchiness and just kind of seemed like a more opaque gloss that I was wearing. And the gloss that I'm wearing is in the shade Fantasy. So both of them together, I do really like. I just don't really like the lipstick on its own, but honestly it's like $2, so I didn't expect that much. But those are it for some of my first impressions and a full face of e.l.f. I think that wraps up this video then. I would say overall I was really impressed with pretty much everything. Obviously a lot of stuff when you try it for the first time is a little bit of a trial and error, like with color selection, product textures, and pigmentation, of course. I would say though that it was a success. I was very happy with all of this stuff. I don't know how long it will wear. I'm actually filming this at 9:53 p.m. so I will not be wearing this makeup for much longer. I have been using that eyeshadow palette for a long time and I do really like it. I think some of the colors take a little bit longer to blend out, but overall it still looked good. It is all very affordable. e.l.f. is obviously known as being extremely affordable, so if you are looking for more cruelty-free products to use and you don't want to break the bank, then e.l.f. is obviously a really great place to start, especially if you are new to makeup. One thing I was really surprised about was the e.l.f. foundation. I was for some reason expecting a higher coverage, but I was very pleasantly surprised that it was a light coverage. It looked so thick when it came out on my hand, but it ended up being like a very blendable, like natural coverage product. So it's a great everyday foundation. It is a little bit buildable, which is nice as well, but I do like that it is on the lighter side, because if you are starting out with makeup, then you probably don't want to be using a very high coverage foundation. I think most people can get away with a lighter coverage, but of course that's just personal preference too. The other thing that I was really surprised about was this highlighter. It's a jelly highlighter, but it is definitely more liquidy than I thought. I was really expecting like a very jelly texture that was a bit more solid, but it's quite liquidy and it dries real fast. So if you don't blend it out quickly, it's gonna stay in a little like blob on your face. Luckily, it did blend out, but I had to rub a little bit harder. So if you are wearing like a thicker foundation, it's very likely that you will rub it all away as you're trying to blend it out, unless you do it immediately. So that's just a little note there. I think my favorite product in this video is probably the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This is the satin finish. It's supposed to be a hydrating version of their regular 24-hour camo concealer, which I have tried in the past and I did really like it, but it is a little bit too matte for my personal liking. So I was so happy when I saw that they had the hydrating version. I would definitely suggest this for pretty much anyone. Like, it's a really awesome concealer, especially for underneath your eyes. I really like it. I do have some creasing, but I get creasing with like every single concealer that I try, so it's really not a big deal. This is definitely a huge winner, but I am overall impressed, so I like doing this. Let me know what other brands you would like to see me do a one brand full face makeup video of. I can do obviously high-end or drugstore. I like doing drugstore because then everybody can pretty much afford it. So let me know your suggestions or requests in the comment section below. Definitely check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!